Dear first year students, I want to teach you today the types of sentences. In a hurry, I told you the simple sentence, compound and also the complex one. But today I will repeat. Since your examination was knocking at the door, I took the responsibility to tell you everything. Only because of that, in a hurry, I gave you the examples of the simple, compound and the complex sentences. But today, I will tell you the simple, compound and complex again. Because you are to be very serious, you are to know all these things, very important things you are to know. Dear students, I have told you in a simple sentence, there is a subject, and a predicate. In a simple sentence, you will find a subject and a predicate. And that is a clause, no doubt. That is a clause, a main clause, a principal clause. You will have a subject and a predicate. And there is a finite verb. In a simple sentence, there is a finite verb. I go. I is the subject and go is the predicate. You mark. I go. I is the subject, go is the predicate. And go is a finite verb. Because this is a relationship with the tense. It is bound by tense, person and number. It is bound by tense, person and number, since go is a finite verb. It is bound by tense, number and also person. I go, I is a subject, I is a subject and go is a finite verb. And I is a subject and go is a predicate. So in a simple sentence, you will have a subject and a predicate. You mark. You will have a subject and a predicate and I and go. I have given you I is a subject and go is a predicate. Go is also a finite verb. Number one. This is about the simple sentence. And come to the compound sentence. In a compound sentence, you will see, you will mark more than two principal clauses. More than two principal clauses are there in compound. Each sentence is independent. Each sentence is having equal rank. Yesterday, a student asked me, what is the meaning of equal rank? What is the meaning of equal rank? In the doubt clear class, a student asked me. I told him that equal rank means equal status, equal rank, because the sentence is independent. The first sentence is independent, the second sentence is independent. The second sentence will never depend upon the first sentence, and there is a conjunction. So in a compound sentence, you will have a conjunction, coordinating conjunction. The conjunction is a coordinating conjunction, I have told you. So and, or, but, either or, neither nor, so many things are there. I have told you while I was teaching the parts of speech. While I was teaching the parts of speech, I have told you about the conjunction, which is part and parcel, the conjunction, the part and parcel of the sentence. It is the parts of sentences, one of the parts of the sentences. And however, in a compound sentence, you will find two or more than two principal clauses. You will find two and more than two principal clauses in a compound sentence. So I will give you the example. Number one, Rama went home, Hari went to his college. Rama went home and Hari went to his college. You mark. Rama went home is a principal clause. And Hari went home is another principal clause. And there is and. There is a conjunction and, which is a joiner, which is a conjunction, or which is also a connector, that has connected two principal clauses. Dear students, you are to note that phrase is not a clause. Phrase is not a clause. In a phrase, you will never have a subject and a predicate. In a phrase, you will never have a subject and a predicate. But in a clause, you will have a subject and a predicate. Either it may be a principal clause or a subordinate clause. Either it may be a principal clause or a subordinate clause. You will have a subject and a predicate. But in a phrase, which is the combination of words, combination of different words. It is a phrase. You will find many words, but it is not a clause. A clause has a subject and a predicate, but a phrase has no subject and a predicate. So, in the compound sentence, in a compound sentences, you will find each sentence is principal, or that is a principal clause. Each sentence is independent. Each sentence is a main clause, and two main clauses or more than two main clauses join together. Two clauses or more two main clauses or more than two main clauses join together by help of the conjunction, coordinating conjunctions. And I told you the example, I gave you one example. Hari went home, Rama went home, and Hari went to his college. Rama went home and Hari went to his college. Rama went home is a principal clause, and Hari went to his college is another principal clause, and is a coordinating conjunction. And sometimes the principal clause is called coordinating clause. Sometimes. So, principal clause is called coordinating clause because there is a coordinate, there is a coordinator, or there is a coordinator, there is a conjunction, there is a joiner, there is a connector. You cannot connect without a connector. You cannot connect without a connector. So, that is why connector is necessary when you will have the compound sentences. You come to the complex sentences, my dear students. Complex sentence is very complex. Complex sentence is very complex. One principal clause must be there, one principal clause and other subordinate clauses. One principal clause and other subordinate clauses are there in a complex sentence. One principal clause and subordinate clauses. Subordinate clauses will depend upon the principal clause. Subordinate clauses will depend upon the principal clause. They are not independent, they are dependent. Subordinate clauses are dependent. And in complex sentence you see three types of subordinate clauses are there. Number one, noun clause. You mark, write down. Number one, noun clause, N-O-U-N, noun clause, C-L-A-U-S-E. Number one, noun clause. And number two, adjective or relative clause, noun clause, N-O-U-N, noun, C-L-A-U-S, noun clause. Adjective clause, adj clause, C-L-A-U-S-E clause, or relative clause, R-E-L-A-T-I-V, or relative clause. Number three is about adverb clause, A-D-V-E-R-B, adverb clause. You mark. So, in subordinate clauses we see three types of subordinate clauses are there. Number one is a noun clause, number two is adjective clause, adjective clause or relative clause, number three is adverb clause. Adverb clauses are many. So, noun clause is there, and adjective clause is there, relative clause is there, and adverb clause is there. So, they have their number, they have their categories. They have their different categories. I will also tell you in the next class. Today you mark in a complex sentence there is a main clause or there is a principal clause and one or more subordinate clauses. One or more subordinate clauses. These are the subordinate clauses. I have told you or I tell you these are noun clause, adjective clause, relative clause, adverb clause. You may say conditional clause, you may say conditional clause. So, normally the conditional clause comes under adverb clause. The conditional clause comes under adverb clause. So, adverb clause has nine categories. Adverb clause has 9 categories and conditional clause comes under this adverb clause. And some grammarians have already categorized in a different way. Some grammarians have already categorized the conditional clause in a different way because it is totally separate, totally different. That is conditional. 3-4 conditionals are there. 3-4 conditionals. Open condition, hypothesis or hypothetical condition, unfulfilled condition, unreal condition. So many conditional sentences are also there. 3 categories, some of the grammarians have already stressed their emphasis on the 3 categories, and some say the 4 categories. I tell you the 4 categories, 3 or 4 categories, what you think or what you find. Number 1 is open condition, number 2 is hypothetical condition or unfulfilled condition, and number 3 is unreal condition, and these are the conditionals. And these conditional sentences come under the adverb clause. So in a relative clause or adjective clause, you will get only the WH word and that. Where that is used is important. That is very important where that is used. That kouti bose seta bhari bado jiniso. That kouti bose. So there is a relative clause which is called defining relative clause. There is a relative clause called defining, D-E-F-I-N-I-N-G, defining relative clause, D-E-F-I-N-I-N-G, D-E-F-I-N-I-N-G, defining relative clause. And another one is non-defining, N-O-N, non-defining relative clause. In a defining relative clause, you will use that and who. In possessive cases, many of the things, many of the relatives can be used, no doubt. But in defining, only that is required in defining clause. And you will never give any comma writing this. You will never give any comma. Writing, while writing, you will never give any comma. But in non-defining clause, you cannot use that. In a non-defining clause, you cannot use that. And you will put a comma, you will put 2 commas. They are in the non-defining sentence, non-defining relative clause. Non-defining relative clause, you will give 2 commas. Commas are very necessary, commas are very essential. I will also tell you one example. I will also give you one example in the next class. I will tell you bit by bit. I will also give the clarification, I will clear your doubt, no doubt. But you are to be very sincere and you are to be very meticulous. So, in a defining clause, you will have only that, who, and also other relatives in possessive case, and in a non-defining case. Non-defining case, you will never put any that, you will never use any that, you will only use 2 commas and other relatives. 2 commas and other relatives. But in a defining, you will never give any comma, because the relative clause has something to do with the principal clause. The relative clause has something to do with the subject. The relative clause has something to do with the principal clause and the subject. It is very integral, very indispensable. That is why it does never need any comma. But in a non-defining case, you will have a comma. In a non-defining case. I will also tell you all these things in the next class. Thank you all. Thank you all today. Thank you all.